and 30 years of cars he never wanted to get rid of.
Are these all Michael's cars?
These are some of them.
Some of them?
Some of them.
More cars.
More cars.
There's another Rolls Royce.
Yeah, well, there's a few.
Did he have his license?
He did. He did.
There was nothing on the surface that would lead anyone to believe anything nefarious had occurred.
For over a decade, one part of Michael Jackson's legacy remained untouched. Behind the gates of Neverland Ranch, a mysterious garage stood sealed, hidden from the public eye and surrounded by whispers of what it might contain. When the doors were finally opened, what they found inside wasn't just a collection of cars. It was something that left everyone stunned and completely unprepared.
Until now, this morning, you're about to see what no one has ever seen before. I got full access to Michael's mansion, and our cameras captured everything from his inner sanctum, literally off limits to everyone but him, to love notes from Michael's children.
For years, nobody dared to touch it. Not the estate lawyers, not the family, not even the fans who gathered outside the gates holding candles and photographs. Every inch of Neverland was examined, cataloged, and sold until only silence and decay remained. But one door stayed sealed, one room remained untouched. And what lay behind it was a secret so carefully guarded, so meticulously preserved, that when it was finally uncovered, it shook everyone to the core.
It was absolutely huge.
There was a lot of pressure to get it right.
The moment the garage was opened, what emerged from the shadows was something so mind-blowing it left the entire team in stunned silence. It sat behind the main mansion, reinforced and angular, built from materials that were not standard. The walls were thicker than they needed to be. The door was not a typical garage door. It was a heavy, bolted structure made from a custom alloy, a blend of titanium and steel, sealed with a keypad entry system and a manual locking mechanism that worked independently of the electronics. Michael had it designed that way deliberately. People close to him said he was involved in every detail of its construction. He wanted a space that could not be entered without his permission, a space that would hold whatever he put inside it for as long as he needed it held. He never told anyone what was inside. He never invited anyone in. And when he died, the door stayed exactly as he left it.
Wow, when you step outside, it is beautiful here.
Yeah, and Michael always liked private surroundings that were immaculate.
And this is immaculate, Michael's own private oasis. Greenery, his protection from the outside.
Rumors moved through his inner circle the way rumors always do around things people cannot see. Some said the garage held his most valuable cars, vehicles so rare and so customized that even the estate lawyers were not sure how to value them. Others said there were personal journals inside, private recordings, letters he never sent. Some went darker, whispering that the garage held documents connected to the legal battles that defined the last decade of his life. Nobody knew. Nobody could get in. And the estate, yet already buried under litigation and financial audits, left the garage alone because opening it felt like crossing a line that nobody was ready to cross. Then, the moment came and it changed everything.
It seems like it's abandoned. It seems like it was a dream that has somehow faded into memory and it will never be the same again.
A sweeping legal audit of all remaining Jackson estate properties forced the issue. Every structure on every piece of land tied to the estate had to be inventoried and assessed. There were no more exceptions. The garage was on the list. A team assembled at Neverland before sunrise, locksmiths, structural engineers, estate representatives, archivists, and security personnel. Cameras were set up, a perimeter was established, and then they walked up to that door and realized immediately that opening it was not going to be simple.
And in fact, later, when you're reflecting on this call, the days, the weeks, the months afterwards, one of the greatest regrets that all of us had is that we had not been called sooner.
The keypad was dead, as its internal circuits had either fried over time or triggered some kind of protective shutdown, a failsafe that Michael may have built into the system deliberately. The manual bolts resisted cutting tools that had previously worked on bank vault doors. Specialists who had cracked open government-secured facilities stood in front of this garage door and could not move it. Every attempt failed. Every tool was defeated. The door absorbed everything thrown at it and gave nothing back. Hours passed. The team worked through the morning and into the afternoon. And with every failed attempt, the atmosphere around that door changed. People stopped making casual conversation. The technical problem became something else entirely. It began to feel less like a locked door and more like a warning.
There are rows and rows, floor to ceiling, of Jackson's possessions, most of it never seen publicly since he died.
When the door finally broke open, Eddie, the sound it made was not a click or a pop. It was a groan, low and long, like something ancient finally giving up resistance. And what came out first was not light, it was air. 15 years of sealed atmosphere rushed out of the darkness, carrying the smell of engine oil, aged leather, and something dry and ancient underneath it all. Nobody moved for a moment. Flashlights went on, and then the beams cut into the dark and revealed something that made every person in that doorway go completely silent.
Wow, the Neverland. That's the actual sign from Neverland?
That is the actual sign from Neverland that was over the gates.
Karen Langford was friends with Michael Jackson and worked with him from 1981 until his death.
The cars were perfect, not dusty relics, not decaying machines. Perfect. Tires fully inflated, chrome accents catching the flashlight beams and throwing them back, windshields completely clear, paintwork unmarked. As every vehicle in that garage looked like it had been parked the previous afternoon and was simply waiting for someone to return. The preservation was so complete and so precise that it felt less like a garage and more like a sealed museum exhibit, designed to stop time at a specific moment and hold it there indefinitely. As the overhead lights flickered back to life, the full scale of what was inside became visible, and the team began to understand that what they were looking at was not a collection. It was an autobiography. Every car in that room told a chapter of Michael Jackson's life, arranged in the order he lived it.
If you want to make the world a better place,
it was a bizarre set of circumstances. He just made a very bad decision.
Take a look at yourself.
He didn't know who he was. He was a house of cards.
And then make a change.
That was the beginning of the end for him.
The first vehicle that drew every eye was a 1985 Rolls-Royce Corniche, finished in a deep turquoise that seemed to glow under the cold overhead light. This was the car Michael bought at the absolute peak of Thriller, when he was not just famous but was redefining what fame could mean. He was selling albums at a rate the music industry had never recorded. He was performing on stages that felt too small for what he had become. And in the middle of all of that, he bought this car, not to be seen in it, but to disappear inside it. People who worked closely with him described the Corniche as his thinking space. He would sit in the driver's seat alone, headphones on, playing back demos of songs he was developing, sometimes for hours, without telling anyone where he was going or when he would return.
But the car has its own mystery as well.
There was actually a hidden weapon compartment in the side door, which is still there. We still haven't opened it.
That's right, a secret compartment.
Inside the car, still sitting in the cassette deck, partially ejected as if someone pressed pause and simply never came back, was tape. The label read, "Off the Wall." Yeah, the tape was stopped midway through She's Out of My Life, the song Michael famously cried while recording because the emotion in the lyrics overwhelmed him. Finding that tape stopped at that exact moment inside a car sealed for 15 years told a story about Michael Jackson that no interview or documentary had ever managed to tell.
Yeah, family members, Jackson family members coming in and people wanting some questions answered as well as us.
The 1954 Cadillac Fleetwood stood nearby, its boxy frame radiating a quiet authority that felt different from the Rolls. The Cadillac was a statement of a different kind. This was the car of American presidents and Hollywood legends, a vehicle that existed in photographs of history rather than in private garages. Michael owned it because he understood what it meant. He was not simply a pop star. He was building a legacy designed to outlast the charts and the tours and the headlines. Yeah, the Cadillac was his physical declaration of that intention, a rolling monument to permanence in a career that had already become historic.
Never before heard details of the scene inside Jackson's bedroom on the day he died, including an attempt to shield the star's children from the desperate efforts to save his life.
Further back sat the Rolls-Royce Silver Cloud, one of only 500 ever manufactured. Its presence in the garage was almost quiet, understated for a car of its rarity and value. But that restraint was precisely the point. The Silver Cloud was the kind of vehicle that whispered rather than shouted, engineered with a precision that bordered on obsession, handcrafted and flawless. For Michael, who demanded that same level of perfection from every song, every performance, and every frame of every music video, this car was a mirror. It reflected back the standard he held himself to, which was a standard that never lowered and never compromised. Then the tone of the collection shifted, and the shift was unmistakable. The 1993 Mercedes-Benz 500 SEL sat with its doors still sealed by yellow tape, a car that arrived in Michael's life during the period when his world began to collapse inward. The legal battles, the media siege, the loss of the uncomplicated public love that had defined his earlier career. This Mercedes had bulletproof windows installed at the factory. It was not bought for comfort or status. It was bought for survival, for the ability to move through a hostile world without being reached. The sealed yellow tape on the doors felt like evidence tape at a scene, a preserved record of the moment Michael's life stopped being about performance and started being about endurance.
What is that? Oh my God.
Don't think we want to know, maybe?
Yeah.
When you pulled that back, I was like, wow, I gotta stop watching Criminal Minds. It's the first thing that went through my head.
At the Silver Spur, two limousines beside it told a different story about the same period. Where the Mercedes was armor, the limousine was theater. This was the vehicle that delivered Michael to charity galas and award ceremonies, that maintained the image of elegance and generosity while the private world behind it was fracturing. Inside, a retractable moonroof, a fiber optic star ceiling across the cabin, hidden speakers positioned to make conversation feel intimate. It was designed to project a version of Michael Jackson to the world, while the real one stayed hidden behind tinted glass.
So then,
This is Michael Jackson, personal clothing.
Mm-hmm.
This is what he wore for Billie Jean.
Yep.
There's that famous jacket.
And then there was the Phantom 6, matte black exterior, no rear windows. The rear cabin fitted entirely with high-definition screens instead of glass, it turning the back seat into a sealed room that could see out electronically but could not be seen into at all. This was not a car designed for transportation. It was designed for disappearance. It was the vehicle of a man who had conquered every stage on Earth and then looked at the world watching him and decided he no longer wanted to be visible inside it. The Phantom 6 was the end of something, the final evolution of a man who began his life performing for strangers and ended it building walls between himself and everyone outside.
Involving the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency.
Here in Los Angeles, the investigation into Michael Jackson's death has taken a dramatic turn. There are reports that police found Diprovan, a powerful anesthetic, in Michael Jackson's house.
Weeks later, July 22nd, in a surprise raid.
Tucked in the far corner, almost hidden behind the larger vehicles, was a 1993 Ford Econoline van, beige, unmarked, the kind of vehicle that disappears on any street in any city. From the outside, it was invisible by design, but the moment the sliding door opened, yes, the interior revealed something that reframed every assumption about Michael Jackson's private life. The walls were covered in deep blue velvet, the seats were custom leather, fully reclining, each with its own mounted television screen, and bolted securely to a central console, wired and cartridges and completely intact, was a Super Nintendo Entertainment System with a labeled collection of original game cartridges stored in individual compartments beside it. A mirror panel ran across the ceiling. The whole interior felt less like a vehicle and more like a room built for someone who needed a place where nothing outside could reach them.
You have to realize the type of case I was investigating.
When you get, hold of an investigation, you have to kind of whittle out what is and what isn't.
Inside a side compartment, a notebook. Its cover was worn soft from handling. The pages filled with handwriting that shifted between careful and urgent. Its stage designs drawn in precise detail alongside rough sketches that suggested ideas arriving faster than the pen could catch them. Notes for a children's book, partially outlined, with character sketches and handwritten dialogue that never made it to publication. Detailed plans for concert stages that incorporated technology years ahead of what arenas were actually capable of building. The notebook was the most unsettling discovery in the garage because it made the most obvious point. Michael Jackson never stopped working. He was generating ideas and building plans and dreaming forward even while the world around him was collapsing. The van was where he went to be alone with all of that. Yet to be unreachable and unnamed and just a man sitting in a velvet room playing video games and writing children's stories and sketching stages for concerts he was not sure he would ever perform.
It's very eerie to be here now as opposed opposed to when I was here a couple of years ago when Michael was actually here.
Welcome to Neverland. That was December 2004 when Michael opened up Neverland to the press as he welcomed disadvantaged children from LA to a Christmas party.
Behind a tarpaulin near the rear wall, a stack of black crates stamped with the MJJ Productions logo sat in careful formation. When archivists opened them, they found blueprints. Enormous, detailed schematics for a concert tour titled History 2, The Resurrection Tour. The stage designs were extraordinary: multi-tiered platforms, mechanized elevators, immersive lighting systems designed to transform entire stadiums into environments rather than venues. Handwritten notes filled the margins of every page, instructions and alterations and ideas layered over each other in a way that showed a mind returning to these plans repeatedly, as refining them, pushing them further. Alongside the blueprints were fragments of unreleased music, lyric sheets with verses crossed out and rewritten, chord notations, production notes addressed to collaborators who may never have received them. This was not a graveyard of abandoned projects. It was a workshop, still running, frozen mid-thought.
Famous or infamous, one of the best-known people on the planet, ever.
Without a doubt, Michael Jackson's worth more dead than alive. People wanted him dead.
When details of the garage's contents became known to collectors and cultural historians, the response was serious and immediate. Auction houses approached the estate with significant offers. Exhibition proposals arrived from institutions across 3 continents. The cultural weight of what the garage contained was impossible to overstate. These were not just the possessions of a famous man. They were primary documents of one of the most significant artistic lives of the 20th century, preserved in a state that most archives could never achieve deliberately.
Yes, it was enough for me to be in one of the golf carts at Neverland and have him drive me around.
He was not a good driver?
He just liked to have a good time, you know, and take in, oh, did you see over there?
The Jackson estate refused every offer. The garage was resealed. A full inventory was completed and archived privately. Every item was cataloged and protected. And then the door closed again, this time not out of mystery or secrecy, but out of a decision that the contents were too important and too personal to be turned into a commodity. Michael Jackson spent his entire life fighting to control the story told about him. The estate decided, at least in this case, to honor that fight.
And with so much more being kept secret about this biopic, we do know that one of the filming locations is Michael's former home, Neverland, which Access has spent quite a bit of time at over the years.
Access Hollywood takes you over Neverland Ranch, then and now.
What the garage ultimately revealed was not a collection of luxury vehicles or unreleased music or unfinished projects. But it revealed the architecture of a private mind, the physical record of how one of the most watched human beings in history built spaces where he could exist without being watched. Every car was a layer of that architecture. Every sealed door was a boundary he drew. The van in the corner with its velvet walls, video games, and unfinished notebook was the truest space where Michael Jackson wasn't an icon, but just a person who needed peace. As the garage is sealed once again, one question remains. What if there's still something hidden in plain sight waiting to be discovered? Like, share, and subscribe for more incredible stories.